Hello and welcome to Ross Meets. We are on the second episode, and this time we have the wonderful Cormac Todd. Oh my god, what can I say about Cormac Todd? He is probably one of the most genius artists that I've been lucky enough to meet so far on this journey. He is just so business minded, both creatively and in terms of our industry. He spent so much time learning what works, learning the industry, learning how to make music that is not only going to be successful but also have an impact, a real impact on various communities and speak to various communities. He's just the answers that he gave in our interview, which you're about to hear, are just some of the most insightful answers that I think we've ever had on air. He was just so interesting to talk to. It was weird, going back through the interview and listening to it after such a long period of time as well, because I've had this for so long, and it's been on my mind for so long. We recorded this, like Alex Hawkins' podcast interview. We recorded this back in April. So this interview has been with me for such a long time, and it really, really does, as Alex Hawkins' did. It really represents what he was going through at the time, where he was musically back then. And I feel like it really speaks volumes, in terms of his social medias. If you guys keep up with that, as you should, it's brilliant. There's so much going on over there and so much content being made, and he's been so active lately in terms of live performance and really engaging in those communities like I was talking about. He's been to so many prides and done so many LGBTQ plus related things, and he really, really does help out those communities, women in our industry. I've mentioned it in the post on social media, hopefully that you guys have seen and have come over to the interview from that. There's so much he does creatively, and he's just so wonderful. A really, really nice person on and off camera. Just so clever and just so wonderful. Honestly, I can't speak up for him enough. And it's the same with a lot of the artists that I interview. They are just so wonderful on and off screen and can't do enough. And Cormac Todd really is one of them. And later in the interview, he talks about this. He talks about having respect for people and being really respectful and really, understanding how to operate with people and how to be the best version of yourself. He's just so insightful and just so full of so much knowledge. He really is a beacon for that. And he really does empower change within our industry. And I'm hoping that's the vibe that you guys are going to get after listening to it, because that is definitely the vibe that I got. The future is so bright for him, and it's so exciting to see everything that he's doing. Lately, he's just performed at HMV. And, even in such a small space, he can really turn that round and really make it his own and really, get as much as he can out of it and really connect with these local communities, whether it be back home in Ireland or, further on in the world, in London, other areas like that. He really knows how to make it his own, and he really knows how to be as creative as possible in those areas. And I'm just so excited for you to hear it, because again, he's been so patient and so kind through this process, and just so understanding and just so wonderful. Everything you'd want an artist to be is Cormac. His style, his music, and his style is fabulous. You got to check it out, guys. Honestly, it is the most fabulous stuff you'll see. He really understands fashion, and he really has an interest in fashion, and he really knows how to work it. So you guys need to be checking out his socials and really keeping up with him, because as I say, and as I keep saying, there's so much exciting stuff coming out from him right now and in the future. So yeah, again, I'm going to stop yapping, and I'm going to let you guys listen to this interview, and I really hope you enjoy it, because it is a real treat. Anytime Cormac Todd's involved in anything, it's a real treat. So yeah, enjoy.
Morning, Ross. How's it going?
Oh, hello, Cormac. You alright?
How are you? Sorry for the delay.
Oh no, you're all good. I've just been having a fight with the technology over here.
Oh, me too.
But yeah, like I say, technology not on our side today. I mean, I've got a very risky setup going on here. So if it all falls down and the camera falls over and you can't hear nothing, we'll just have to go with it. But yeah, I've just been looking outside. There's a bloody magpie out there. I'm like, oh my god, I'm doomed.
Bad omen.
I'm just doomed. Are you superstitious?
I'm actually really not. I'm really, really not. I'm really,
Really?
really not. I'm really not. I think most Irish people are very, very superstitious. We have a lot of superstitions, but I'm really not superstitious at all. I really don't. I have a science background, and I think that really skewed my whole vision.
Yeah.
So I don't really think like that. I think very much on a cellular level. And then, but I do believe in like karma and all that stuff because I think it's you do get what you put out,
Yeah,
and you do get what you receive most of the time, or you do
definitely.
receive what you gave most of the time. But that can actually be broken down to like social ripples as well.
Yeah.
So it's not like magic. Do you know what I mean? But then
Yeah.
also, magic is just science that we don't understand yet.
I get ya. I get ya.
Sorry, give me 1 second. My
You're
doorbell's
okay.
ringing.
Brilliant. So Cormac, you're originally from Ireland. What was
Yeah.
it like growing up there?
Mostly very positive. There's a very in Ireland in the way I grew up in a village in Ireland, and there's a very strong sense of community. Um, Good education. We had a good time. Lots of little outdoor trips for the entire time I was growing up there. Definitely was hard to be gay. Um, because it's a predominantly Catholic country, and I went to a Catholic school, and there was like zero representation at the time. I think it's a little bit better now. But that was definitely a challenge. Um, Mostly good though, mostly good. But yeah, it was a mix.
And do you get like those influences like coming through your music? I mean, when you listen to it, you can really like hear your accent, which is
Mhm.
kind of like unique to you, really. I mean, you don't
Mhm.
really hear so many like songs like where, from places where there are like a strong accent, the accent
Mhm.
kind of comes through the music, if
Mhm.
you know what I mean.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and it's really nice to hear. It's like refreshing. It's
Mhm.
is that something that you like actively trying to do, like actively trying to like feature through the music?
Initially, I I was kind of playing around with my sound, and I'm still am experimenting, obviously. But I just wanted to keep it as authentic to me as possible. So, it's basically just me speaking, like I'm
Yeah,
singing. I'm just being myself, and that's how it comes through.
yeah,
Um, that's just how it comes through, and yeah, it's just I wanted to be. I remember I was on a phone call with an American producer who's produced for lots of people we'd know. And he told me that it was super jarring, and that he didn't feel it, he wasn't feeling it. And I'm so glad I stuck to my guns because I was like, I have to be authentic, and just because it doesn't sound like everybody else doesn't mean it's not good. I
yeah,
think,
exactly, exactly.
yeah, yeah, and I think a lot of the time we see even English artists going for the standardized American accent, and it's just not for me. But it still sounds good, but it's just not for me.
See, I really like that authenticity. I can't
Mhm.
speak. I really like that. I think it is
Yeah.
really unique, and it
Yeah.
creates a really lovely sound, a really nice sound.
Thank
Um,
you.
and it is just really unique, and it's nice to have.
Yeah.
But I've been giving you a bit of a stalk. I've been on your Instagram,
Okay.
and
Love it.
you've got a lot of style, and there's a lot of
Thank
fashion going
you.
on, and a lot of
Thank
like,
you.
everything's looking good. Like, where do you get like your style and those like kind of like influences from?
So I just like to basically stay online. Stay online. I like to attend museums. So I go to the V&A in London, Victoria and Albert in London. There's lots of fashion exhibitions. To be honest, I've really tried to educate myself in fashion because it's not something that I naturally thought about. But it is something I wanted to kind of pull together to present myself. I like queer fashion. I always think queer and people of color are always at the forefront of fashion trends. So I like to pay attention to that community because we're always smashing it. Um, yeah, and that's mostly it. And then just from the queer community is a big inspiration for me from a fashion perspective because they're always cutting edge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it really goes like hand in hand as well, with the music, with that creative vision. I feel like it really fleshes it out, and it's something that a lot of artists don't really think about. How they're perceived, how they look, and
Mhm.
I think it really goes hand in hand. And it's like you say, it goes hand in hand, and it's really great to get the representation across. Like
Yeah.
I say, from all the different influences, all the different backgrounds, it's just really,
Mhm.
really good to have. And it's something that you're doing really, really good and really, really
Thank
well.
you. Thank
Unique to
you.
you again. Um, and let's talk a bit about Confessions.
Yeah.
Newest single. It's
Yes.
really new. What are kind of the influences that have gone behind that?
So that was the main sentiment around that was very much the, I would call it not a phenomenon, but the feeling when you move to another city. I think people can relate to this kind. A lot of us have moved around, and you grow up in your teens in like a very specific environment, very like almost a vacuum, and then you move to another country and a city like London, and you get lots of great new experiences, new influences. You meet lots of very interesting people, do a lot of very fun things. And then you reconnect with people from your past, and perhaps you have changed a lot in that time, and grown, so you no longer really align. And then it's also kind of like it's like a post-mortem on relationships, and like taking accountability for, everyone matures, but also looking back and say, I could have done this better. I personally could have done this better. Like, I really like music that, like, sometimes when I listen to some pop music, I don't connect with messaging that around, say, blaming somebody for an action and then taking no accountability. Like, I like pop music that you're allowed to, you look at yourself and say, this is what I could do better, instead of maybe making yourself look like you're perfection and then someone's a villain, because like life just isn't that simple. And I think it does not concern me, but sometimes it's music that I hear that's going out that's particularly affecting, like, that targeted at like super young people, like teenagers, that doesn't display any accountability. I think it's a problem, because then it's like validating a mindset that someone doesn't have to be responsible for their behavior, like everyone else is wrong. And I think that's a problem. I think I see it a lot, that kind of writing style. And I know it's probably there because it'll connect with a certain audience, but I think we should be pushing for our young people, um, to consider growth and development, instead of just like keeping everyone in one place to make money. But
Yeah.
maybe that's just a take. But
Totally agreed. I mean, yeah, I think growth is very beneficial, and I think reinvention is really, really important. It's something
mm,
that you don't really see in terms of not just like music and songs, but actual like artists themselves. Some
mm,
artists are very restricted and kind of
yeah,
don't want it, kind of scared of change and scared of
mm,
moving forward. Um,
definitely.
is reinvention important to you? Could you see yourself maybe completely changing genres, completely
Mm.
changing music style, completely like moving into different kind of areas? Is that something that you want to be doing like further on down the line?
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm constantly listening to music, new music. Like yesterday, I went deep into like a Chic, Chic, the Chic catalog. I listened to another awesome like kind of dance producer called Pastel. Like, I'm constantly listening to new influences. Like, my next track will be out in the summer, and it's like a kind of disco pop vibe. So it's completely different, actually. And like, it's important to, like, I want to present things like a mixtape. There will be some similarities between tracks, but definitely up for genre experimentation. Absolutely. So much amazing music out there, so it's really hard not to be influenced as well. So yeah, definitely, as things go, it'll develop, and maybe you'll come back to certain sounds and find out what works for you over
Yeah.
time.
Exactly, and it's all about that experimentation as well, and just finding what works and finding
Mhm.
what sticks, and just exploring. It's just good to have a bit of an explore, you know what I mean, and kind of see what's going on. It's been a couple of years since Lifeboat was released. In
Mhm.
between Lifeboat and Confessions, um,
Mhm.
what have you been up to? Have you still been like writing music? Preparing for kind of like the future and what's going to be happening after Confessions.
Mhm.
What have you been up to? What's been going on?
So I released Lifeboat really to do a sense check and learn how to promote music. So I did that independently, like a year and a half ago, I think. So I did a lot of studying in that time. So I did a master's at BIM London, which is a music school. Worked on my craft, learned the business, did some gigging, and just built up my professional network within the music industry. So that when Confessions was ready to go, I'd know what I'm doing, and also so I could present a better offering, a better song. And yes, I've been writing for 2 or 3 years, so I have tons of songs. So just releasing them one by one, maybe an EP project at the end of the year. And that's really it. Yeah.
That's brilliant to hear. Really, really good to hear. And it's good to hear that kind of like the kind of like virus kind of like era hasn't really kind of, impacted you all that much and hasn't like brought you to a massive halt. Because when I talk to other artists, they kind of, talk about the struggles that they went through and everything that happened around like the 2020 to kind of like now time period. It really, really had like a massive effect. So it's good to hear that you kept yourself busy and kept going and you're mastering your craft. It's just so good to hear. But how do you stay motivated in that creative process?
Um, for me, I didn't have enough free time, to be honest, before the pandemic. And I was at home in my parents' house, and I don't know, how did I stay motivated? I get caught up in a creative wave, and I enjoy tinkering away. I enjoy my own time. Regarding motivation, like it's important for me to like I write things on my wall that I wake up every day and read. I've written a specific goals that I want to achieve, so that keeps me motivated. And then also I've built like a nice music community of other artists and professionals, and we're all kind of striving for specific goals together, and that definitely keeps me motivated. And my friends and family.
Good, good.
Mhm,
And
mhm,
talking about the kind of like community that you've built up, would we
mhm.
see any kind of like potential collaboration in the future?
Yes, I do have a collaboration coming. I have two collaborations coming actually, in the next 6 to 8 months. So I'll definitely keep you posted.
Oh, I'm excited. I'm excited. And again, it's all about being open to new ideas,
Definitely.
new, movements, new everything. And
Mhm.
it's all like really, really good to hear. Do you have any advice for kind of like new people just starting out on their journey in the industry? Maybe a
Yeah,
similar position to what you were in.
yeah. For me, I would say just definitely learn the business side, learn about publishing, learn about contracts, understand distribution and marketing. It's a lot of work, but it's just so important to be able to understand how the machine works so that you can make the correct business decisions. That's definitely the ultimate advice. And then your craft is everything. So, and also be respectful, and everyone you meet, make sure you leave a good impression on them, because it is amazing how many people I see sometimes that just don't it just doesn't click for that just doesn't click for them. They just give the bare minimum, and I just think it's important to leave a great impression on everyone you meet and be respectful.
And again, it's getting what you give, you know what I mean? And it's
100%.
all about that balance, all about that give and take.
Hmm.
And I think that is really, really sound advice, really, really good advice, because
Thank
it's
you.
something a lot of people miss. They just expect to
Hmm.
jump in and kind
Hmm.
of, expect everything to just kind of like fall in the lap. But it's
Hmm.
much, much more difficult than that. And it's a very, very hard industry,
Hmm.
especially with like representation and kind of like underrepresented
Definitely.
groups.
Hmm.
It's a very tough industry to crack.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
you've done
Hmm.
great so far.
Thank
Absolutely
you.
brilliant. And the future is looking so bright. But
Hmm.
what would you say your proudest moment's been so far? I mean, there may be a lot, maybe a big, maybe a little one. Um,
Hmm.
anything at all. What has been the proudest moment for you, Cormac?
I think it was to so far. My biggest one was to get. I got played on RTE, which is our national broadcaster, and also BBC. So yeah, I think to get played on BBC was a huge honor, and also but very much to get played on RTE, which is my national broadcaster for Ireland. That was a huge moment of pride, and then also to get played by my local town, Dundalk FM. That was amazing, because there's just nothing like getting recognised from home. So that was great. I think that's the biggest thing. So being able to connect with my nationality and the people.
Yeah. And has it been surreal? I mean, you just saying that, is it surreal for you to kind of like, think about, still having that really close connection locally,
Mm,
with your village, and
mm,
looking at the progress that you've made? Is it weird
mm.
to think about how far you've come in like such a small amount of time?
Um, it is so it's very surreal. Everything's surreal. Even doing this interview is surreal. Do you know what I mean? Because it's because you just get up every day and you're kind of living it and you're doing the baby steps. So, and you also forget that you're the art. I always forget that I'm the artist, as weird as it sounds. Like I feel very detached, like from because I just feel very detached from it. You know, because you don't feel any different, obviously. And then at home, like like at home will keep you humble in a good way. Actually, I think it's good. Like no one acts any different. So it's yeah. It's yeah, it's just I just love to make music and that's really it. That's all I think about. So it is, but it is surreal. It definitely is surreal when you're up performing and people are telling you they like your music. You feel like you haven't written it as well. It's really
Yeah.
strange.
It is
It's
really
really
weird. I
strange.
mean, it's
It
weird for me
is.
to sit here as well, like just
Yeah.
asking questions, and but you are full of art, and I think
Mm,
that's the magic behind it, and that's why I do
mm,
it. I try and
mm,
drag this out of people, and
mm, mm,
try and find out behind what goes behind the music, because I
mm,
think it is very easy to kind of like get lost behind the
mm,
music, behind the art, and you kind of lose the person
mm,
behind it, and it's
mm,
nice for our like fans in Stoke,
mm,
our listeners in Stoke, and your
mm,
fans to be able
mm.
to get to know you a little bit better through this kind of
Okay.
like side. It's
Mm,
just really nice to have, and it's really nice to
mm.
get to know you a little bit better.
Thank
Um,
you.
but just wrapping up now.
Yeah.
Are there any like kind of like future dates in the future that we can be looking
Yeah.
forward to that you could
Yeah.
tell about?
Yes, so I have a ton of gigs this month. So I've one in Belgium, so that's probably not relevant, but I've one on in London on the 28th, in the Spice of Life Soho, and then another on the 2nd in the Gunners Pub in Arsenal. And yeah, those are two main dates. And then I've one on the 20th of June in the Gladstone Arms. I should have looked at my calendar now before I talked to you, but they're the top three gigs that are coming up in mostly London, focusing at the moment, but hopefully we'll get round to some prides and festivals during the summer.
Brilliant. And it's just
Mm.
been absolutely lovely having you, Cormac, and having the opportunity to get to talk to you. Somebody who's so different and doing
Yeah, I
such
love it.
different things. It's just lovely. And I'm sure everyone in Stoke is going to love you, and
Mhm.
be really excited for the music that's coming out. And it's just so nice getting the opportunity and the chance to talk to you.
Ah, no, Ross, it's been such a pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.